Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my top 5 defenses to stream for week number 17 of the 2024 fantasy football season. But before we can get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my top 5 week number 17 defenses to stream for the 2024 fantasy football season, plus my 5 honorable mention defenses on the week. We begin with my number 1 defense to be streaming on the week, the Indianapolis Colts, going up against the New York Football Giants in MetLife over in New Jersey. The Indianapolis Colts defense is currently rostered in 16.4% of leagues on NFL, 27.5% on ESPN, and 47% on Yahoo. So if you play on CBS, Sleeper, MFL, any other fantasy football platform, then the rostership percentage will be slightly different, though I will note in some cases there could be a drastic difference from one platform to another, like in the Colts example, right? They're rostered in 16.4% of leagues on NFL, but 47% on Yahoo. Now, when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts, I don't think anyone thinks of the Colts as this elite defense, this formidable defense that sends shivers down your spine if you are a offensive coordinator trying to key up the game plan, right? But, and this is a big but, shout out to Mia Malkova, when you have a Colts defense that has been playing better over the last 3 weeks, and you are going up against a Giants offense that is essentially dead on arrival, this is going to be a big spot for the Colts defense. And again, with them playing better as of recently, gives me even more confidence. As of right now, on Monday, we still have no idea who the starting quarterback is going to be for the Giants. Drew Lock is dealing with an injury and was getting an MRI today on Monday. And as I'm recording this, what actually is occurring here, how injured is he, is not necessarily known to the public. If he doesn't go, then maybe we get Tommy Cutlets, but who knows if Tommy DeVito, the Italian Stallion's even going to be healthy enough to go. So then we're going to have to go to another quarterback, and this is just a ripe scenario for the taking for the Indianapolis Colts. Last week, up against the Titans and Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, they win 38-30, 1 sack, 3 INTs, and 30 points allowed. And we just saw the Atlanta Falcons defense put on a masterclass up against the Giants. If you played the Falcons defense in fantasy football, it is very likely that they put the team on their back, right? If you ended up winning last week in fantasy, you may have gotten carried by the Atlanta Falcons. In my home league, they scored near 30 fantasy points up against me, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate my friend who watched my video telling everyone to pick up the Atlanta Falcons defense. So the Falcons defense, they go bananas. They win 34-7, 3 sacks, 2 INTs, 1 fumble recovery in that game, as well as just 7 points allowed. So regardless of who the quarterback is, I really think the Indianapolis Colts is going to dominate their defense, 50 Shades of Grey style, up against the G-Men. At number 2, we got the Miami Dolphins going up against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, 15.7% rostered on NFL, 45.7% on ESPN, and 47% on Yahoo. Now, I, for one, wish I didn't even have a pair of eyes after watching the Cleveland Browns offense operate without famous Jameis Winston. DTR simply doesn't cut it. He doesn't even make a small cut into the steak, right? DTR does not cut it at all. The guy stinks. He cannot play, okay? Now, the Cleveland Browns, I don't think, are going to go back to Jameis, right? Realistically, they probably should, because at least Jameis brings some interest to the Cleveland Browns. Sure, could Jameis throw 4 pick 6 up against the Dolphins? Yeah, he definitely could. But he could also throw for 5 touchdowns the other way, right? 5 touchdowns, and technically that would be 9. So 5 touchdowns for the Browns, 4 touchdowns for the Dolphins, right? That is something that Jameis Winston can do. But again, at least Jameis Winston can elevate the offense. DTR makes this offense stagnant. He makes this offense limp dick. And the Dolphins, another team without an elite defense, right? They're rostered in 15.7% of leagues on NFL, 45.7% on ESPN, and 47% on Yahoo. But up against bad teams, the Dolphins defense comes to play. Now, when we have to go up against an actual opponent, a offense that actually is decent, the Dolphins defense folds like a cheap suit. But when you get to go up against a team like the 49ers, who are just dead on arrival, a team that is sleeping with the fishes like Luca Brasi, the Dolphins defense shows up. 3 sacks, 1 INT, 17 points allowed. They eat the W 29-17. We just saw a Bengals defense devour like those soups, or I guess devour is the soup, right? Devour is like those, if anyone had, no, they don't sponsor me, but the devour like frozen meals. If you're lazy like myself and sometimes you want a nice frozen meal, they have some fire frozen meals, but they don't sponsor me, so I'm not going to suck them off too hard here, metaphorically, of course. But the Cincinnati Bengals devoured the Cleveland Browns offense. They win 24-6, 5 sacks, 2 INTs, 1 fumble recovery, 6 points allowed. And it's not like the Bengals have this amazing defense. So with the Dolphins going up against the Cleveland Browns, seems like a no-brainer start on the week. Next up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. 2.9% rostered on NFL, 4.1% on ESPN, and 10% on Yahoo. Now, unless Derek Carr ends up rising from the dead like he was the Undertaker, the Raiders could smash this week. Now, Spencer Rattler is a quarterback that takes more sacks than a rider of the fake taxi. So even if the Raiders defense is far from elite, they can pack up the Saints offense in this spot. And I don't really think this is going to be the return of Derek Carr up against the Raiders in a revenge game of sorts. The Raiders defense, week 16 versus the Jaguars. They win 19-14 up against Mystic Mac Jones. And they have 1 sack, 2 fumble recoveries, and 14 points allowed. Now, the Packers play the Saints tonight on Monday Night Football. As I'm recording this, if you're watching this on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you already know what happened, but I don't, right? But they're 14.5-point favorites, so it's pretty safe to assume that the Packers defense is going to play very well up against the Saints. Again, I can't see the future. I'm not that so Raven, so we're going to have to go back to week number 15 for the Saints' opponent's defensive stats. That was the Commanders, week 15 in New Orleans, in a nail-biter where I think me and a lot of people across the globe, across the United States of America, probably thought that the Washington Commanders were going to steamroll the Saints. I really thought the Commanders were going to dominate from start to finish, and they only win the game 20-19, but the Commanders defense gets 3 sacks, 1 INT, and 19 points allowed. The team might end up shifting from Spencer Rattler, Timu Patrick Mahomes, to Jake Haener. Either way, though, as long as it ain't Derek Carr, the Raiders they got me feeling real nicey. Shout out John Gruden. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Chargers going up against the Patriots in Foxborough. 59.6% rostered on NFL, 49.8% on ESPN, and 44% on Yahoo. But before we break down the Chargers defense, then defense number 5, followed by my honorable mentions, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends, our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious, you'll be able to claim your free pick, which tonight on Monday Night Football is going to be Jordan Love, higher than half of a total yard, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. You're going to match Jordan Love with any player playing on the Saints tonight or on any other team playing in the NFL in week number 17. And if both of your picks hit, you'll get 3 times what you put in your pick'em. If you do multiple other picks, they all have to hit, but the payout will be higher. And if you're watching this, for instance, and it's Tuesday, and you're like, Nick, Jordan Love already played. Well, then guess what? If you use promo code Notorious prior to the games on Christmas, you will receive Patrick Mahomes higher than half a total yard. And if you're watching it after the fact, you will just get a different player higher than half a total yard. So make sure you guys sign up using promo code Notorious to claim your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So we got the Chargers versus the Patriots. Relatively highly owned, 59.6% on NFL, 49.8% on ESPN, and 44% on Yahoo. And look, I get the Chargers defense has gotten their back blown out in back-to-back weeks, but that was up against a Broncos offense that we know can kick things into high gear, right? And they also got their back blown out. They got plowed by the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers, when all things are clicking, can lay the smackdown, brother, on any defense. So while the Chargers got rolled up like a spliff there, I do believe that brighter days are ahead. Now, I like Drake May a lot. And while I hope that he's a bust, because I'm a Dolphins fan, I hope that the Patriots never touch the playoffs again. I hate the Patriots as a Dolphins fan, right? But I don't think that's the case. I think Drake May is too legit to quit, right? I think he is a legitimate quarterback at the NFL level. And while I do like Drake May, and I think he's fun to watch, the offense just doesn't have enough boom, boom, firepower, right? They don't have enough offense. They don't have enough weapons for him to succeed up against the Chargers. And again, while the Chargers have gotten filleted as of recently, there's a Chargers defense that can play much better, like we've seen a lot of times this season. So this is ultimately a scenario, while sure, the Chargers have looked like dog shit as of recently defensively, I do believe they're going to bounce back. Last week up against Denver, they win that game 34-27, but all they had was 2 sacks and 27 points allowed. We just saw the Bills defense go up against the Patriots. They win 24-21, 2 sacks, 1 INT, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 touchdown, and 21 points allowed. So again, while the Chargers have looked out of order, out of shape as of recently, I do think this is a great get-back spot for that defense. Final defense to stream before we get on into the honorable mentions is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Carolina Panthers at home in Tampa Bay. 51.8% roster on NFL, 41% on ESPN, and 44% on Yahoo. Now, the Buccaneers defense up against Dallas, I was personally, thinking they were going to have a decent game. But no, Cooper Rush ended chopping their head off, right? Cooper Rush went nuclear. They lose 24-26, 1 sack, 26 points allowed. Now, the Cardinals defense, another defense that I kind of liked last week. They go up against the Panthers in Carolina. And, playoffs are on the line. You got to win. You got to win. You got to win. You got to win. Back up against the wall. And what happens? Chuba Hubbard absolutely runs a train on your ass. And Polar Express style. And you lose 30-36. 3 sacks, 36 points allowed. Now, the Carolina Panthers offense has played way better as of recently. Bryce Young deserves a lot of credit. I'm not ready to fully fucking chortle the guy's nutsack or something like that, but I am giving him credit where the credit is due. The Buccaneers defense is very hit or miss. I wouldn't be surprised if the Buccaneers defense this week scored 15 points, and I also wouldn't be surprised if the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young had them bent over a table and they get like 3 fantasy points, right? So high risk, high reward with the Buccaneers. So while I don't love the Buccaneers this week, I definitely feel a lot more confident in the other defenses on the screen right now, but I do think they are startable if your back is against the wall. Now we got the honorable mentions. We got the Eagles versus the Cowboys. The Cowboys offense has actually looked pretty decent under Cooper Rush, but ultimately the Eagles defense I think is just going to be too much for the Dallas Cowboys offense. Then we got the Bills versus the Jets. Kind of no-brainer. The Bills defense has been playing solid. They just played really well up against the Patriots, and the Jets are a complete and utter fucking laughingstock. Then we got the Chiefs versus the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Are the Steelers frauds? Are they not? Is Mr. Unlimited gonna struggle again? Now, I don't think the Chiefs are this world-beating team, but they just find ways to win, and they've got a great defense. The Titans versus the Jaguars. I don't love the Titans this week, but the Titans are another one of these teams that are kind of scrappy, like that dude that is in... what is the name of that show? Scrappy-Doo. You know what I'm talking about? Scooby-Doo? Scrappy-Doo? You know what I'm talking about. The little guy. The little version of Scooby. The Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I love streaming defenses up against Mac Jones, but the Titans are very hit or miss. And then we got the Saints versus the Raiders. The Saints defense definitely very underwhelming this season, but the Raiders offense isn't the best either, so I do think the Saints are playable in this spot. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you didn't enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video to help me out a ton. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. Make sure you guys check out Underdog, promo code Notorious to get your free pick. If you're watching tonight, it's going to be Jordan Love higher than half of a total yard on Monday Night Football. If you're watching after Monday Night Football, it is going to be Patrick Mahomes higher than half a total yards. Make sure you guys check that out. You also get your first time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. I love you guys more than you'll ever know. Hope you have a great one. And as always, good boy.